All right, I'm standing in my backyard right by this new Wi-Fi access point. It's outdoor rated and has really good coverage. So I'm going to show you just how well it performs in my large backyard, going back to different barns, going to the sports court, or going all the way down acres away to my pond and other things. So I'm going to show you what this device is. It actually has a couple different versions of it, and then we're going to look at the coverage and the speed performance that it can drive you. It can also do a Wi-Fi mesh system. It can actually take your existing Wi-Fi and repeat it for you. So let's go through all that in this video and show you some real world testing. Hey everyone, this is Nate and this is the Nader Tater channel. Alright, we're going to go through a review of these two different outdoor Wi-Fi access points, mesh systems. I'll talk about that in detail. I'll also do testing at my property with these outside and see how well they work, both as independent as well as if I mesh them together, what exactly do I get. So I'll show you signal and speeds with that. And really, first, I'm just going to talk about the two different options they have here. These are their AX3000, which means combined 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. They can do 3,000 megabytes per second in the theoretical. That's best case. But the two differences really, one has external antennas and one does not. So it's internal, a bit more compact of unit and maybe a little bit of a cleaner look. But obviously, my assumption here was the four external antennas is going to have better range and signal coverage. So we'll test that and just see how big of a difference it is. But these are designed to either complement your existing Wi-Fi network, meaning you can have them as like a mesh system. They can be your only Wi-Fi network, so you can have no Wi-Fi system at all. Just you need to have a router and a modem, or however you get your internet to your house, and you plug these into it. They use power over Ethernet, so all you need to do is run an Ethernet cable outside to wherever these are going to be located. They include the adapter that's going to actually power the unit, and that Ethernet is also the data transfer. So I'll get into that a little bit here when I actually install them. So we'll open up the boxes, we'll show you the differences here, and these are really designed to be configurable for your own needs. So like I said, they can be an independent access point, they can be a mesh system, they can extend your existing. So let's say you have a home Wi-Fi and you just want an outdoor one that's called Nader Tater Outdoors. This can either connect to that through the Ethernet cable, or it can actually take and extend your Wi-Fi from there as well. So that's some of the features here. We'll open up these boxes, show you what's inside there, and then get outside and install them. And now, as always, before I get too far, please hit that like button down below in the video, and then also consider subscribing to my channel. Subscribing gets you notified of my future videos, as well as keeps my channel growing so that I can continue doing this as a hobby. So thank you. Alright, so here are the two units. Let me go through what came in the box. Obviously, the big difference here is these giant antennas on the outside. I will say the antennas are quite nice as far as their fill and their structure. They have a rubber O-ring down here that seals on there. That is really nice. The only thing to make sure you do, if you do have this, it's a little bit faint to see, but on the bottom here there is a little etched in number for 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. You do have to match that up with the numbers on the top plastic here that tell you which one is for which frequency band of Wi-Fi. So here is the unit on the back side. It has a removable attachment plate. So this one is, you can go ahead and remove this if you don't want it, but it is designed to either be wall mount through these 4 holes, and they do give you a template guide, which you actually would need to follow, so you can use this to drill into a flat surface if you wanted to bolt this directly to that and slide it on. Or this shape here is curved and it's designed for the standard pole mount for really almost any size pole that you have, either for another antenna, or if you have like a TV antenna, something like that. This would go to that, and they actually give you a really nice set of stainless steel clamps, ties. So instead of using the zip ties or hose clamp, they actually provide you 4 of these. You only need, I think, 2 of them, so they allow you to adjust them if needed. So this is how you could wrap that around to a pole. So as far as what else comes in the kit, so I mentioned power over Ethernet. If you're not familiar with that, this does support the 802.3 ATRAF, so active or passive PoE. If you don't know what that is, it doesn't really matter. That's fine. You can just use this little adapter here that provides power in from this AC plug, and then it gives you a Ethernet cable that goes from this port here to your unit itself. Now they only give you this little, I don't know what it is, probably 5 or 6 foot Ethernet cable. This is probably what you would use to go from this side into your home network, your home modem, or however you get internet. That will go into here, and then you probably need to purchase a longer Ethernet cable. I'll put a link down in the video description below that I use. I actually have a 150 foot Ethernet cable that I use to actually get from inside up to my TV antenna mast to power up another device. So you get something like that, outdoor rated Ethernet cable that would go from this device to wherever you have this placed. And so when you do that, they do include a weather-tight grommet that screws in the Ethernet cable. So that's what you'd use. They include a wrench for that. They also include screws for mounting. Also, if you wanted to do it, they include these adhesive pads that you can use to tape this unit outdoors. It's 3M stuff. I'm sure it's good. It says it's outdoor capable, but I typically like to secure them with hardware, either screws or the straps personally. So these two units, other than the antennas, are effectively the same, and they have the same equipment there. They do tell you how to do the mesh setup. Let me power one of these up and then log into it and just show you what it looks like. Okay, so now I have this top one powered up, and this is the one with the external antennas. Not that it really matters, but this is the little PoE switch I was talking about. So the white cord is going from the PoE port over. If you don't get the green light when you first plug it in, just test the on-off button. That is a held button that you press, and it will switch on and off. And then the gray cable that's coming out the other side by the power is actually hooked up to an outdoor 5G modem. It's an Elsys unit that gives me really good speed, so I have that one plugged in directly to it, so there's no other Wi-Fi connection or even router other than that unit up outside. So let me hop onto my tablet here and I'll show you how I hook up to it for the first time. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is you need to go to your device. Now you can use Wi-Fi to connect to it, or you can use Ethernet. So if you wanted to use Ethernet, you could do that as well, but obviously Wi-Fi is typically easier. You can see here there's two Wavlink SSIDs that show up. One is the 5 gigahertz and one is the 2.4 gigahertz. I typically like to connect to the 5 gigahertz because it's faster. So when you first connect to that, it will automatically connect. There is no password initially set up for it. So once it connects here, then I will be able to log in. Now it comes with this little quick start guide. There is a QR code you can scan to download a PDF, but honestly, this gives you pretty much all the information you need to get your initial setup for the basic settings. So it's a color, and it goes through basically what I'm about to do here. So, all right, so you might get that check where it says you don't have internet connection, and that might be true when you first plug it in. Tell your device to go ahead and connect to it anyways. Okay, once you get your device connected to it, you need to go to your web browser and type in the address. You can either type in the numbers, or they do a WAP login.link shortcut, but I'm going to do the numbers. So 192.168.30.1 and hit go. And you can see there it asks for a password now. The default password is just admin. So type in admin. And now we're logged into the system here, and you can go ahead and go next. You can change your password if you want to. You do want to set your country and your time zone. Obviously that's good for you to have the right time zone. And then it looks like they force you to change the password, which is a little bit annoying. I like to not have to be forced to change the password, but it looks like I have to. Okay, once you get that, you can click next, and now this is where you can set up your SSID and your password for that. And again, I think it's something they force you right now to add in that password. And once you change that, it's actually going to disconnect your device because you added a password to it. So now you're going to have to go back into the Wi-Fi and select it again and add in your new password. Okay, so now here we are on the main login page. You can see that I'm connected. I have internet, it says. I am doing good on CPU and memory. And then down here below you can see that the way they set it up also, by the way, is by default the SSID, so your Wi-Fi is combined, or they have band steering, so both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz on there. I have my own opinions. I typically split them out for other reasons, but just know that by default they do that. So in here are lots of settings that you can go to. So we can go to our wireless settings. This is going to be the Wi-Fi settings that we can mess with. We already did the basic ones, but this is where here at the top you can uncheck this connection here, and this will, or this toggle here, this will allow you to have different names for each one, which is what I personally recommend. So I'm going to go ahead and save that and do that. Okay, so now then I went ahead and force connected my device to the 5 gigahertz one so I can get the faster speed there. And then here in the advanced settings, this is where you can adjust things like your channel. If you have interference, you might want to adjust your channel. There's other devices that can help you figure out if you want to pick a specific Wi-Fi channel that's more advanced. If you're not familiar with it, it's probably fine to just leave that as is. So here's those settings that they have there. And then next here, let's go into the advanced settings. These have lots of different ones for unique configuration. So in the mode selection, this is going to be, is this unit a standalone AP mode, or is it going to be a repeater, a mesh router, a mesh extended node? So those are the different selections. I'll go through a little bit of those in a bit. Time zone is pretty self-explanatory. That's where you can pick your time zone. The network settings, this is how does it get its information from your main router or your main modem. And most people it's going to be DHCP, where it delivers an IP address to it. But if you need a static IP, you can set that up here in the network settings. Timing reboot, this allows you to have it reboot on a schedule. So you can decide if you want to do it every week, on a specific day and time. I typically don't do that, but it might help if you have issues there. Reset, that allows you to reset this unit. Password, and then LED control. It's kind of hard to tell, but this button here also I think lights up, and that would be something you could adjust if that LED actually has light on or not. So that's basically the easy setup here for that stuff. If we go down here to the device, we can also select a remote reboot, which is really handy. That way you don't have to go unplug it or something. You can actually just reboot it from your device connected to it. So let's do a quick speed test and see what kind of speed we're getting with it right now. Okay, so here we are. We're connected straight through Ethernet. It's in AP mode. This should get really fast speeds. Okay, there we go. Pretty dang impressive. 420 down and almost 100 up. So let's get this guy outside and do some testing to see how well it maintains that kind of speed throughout my backyard. Alright, so here I am in my backyard. I'm on this castle place that I built. If you want to see a video of that, click the link above and you can go check that out. But you can see it is a large backyard. And right now I actually have a different mesh system set up on my property, but I want to test out this Wavlink setup. So you can see right up here I have temporarily installed the one with a external antenna. And now what I've done is a kind of very crude and janky connection, but I have basically the same Elsys 5G internet connected through this Ethernet cable that I just ran from inside the house, was ran into the basement, and it actually goes up that tower. It's at the very top of that tower up there. That's the 5G modem, so that Ethernet is going directly into the PoE adapter onto this Wavlink, and then I'm going to connect to this Wavlink. So this is basically the exact same setup I had in the basement. So I'll do a quick speed test here with this, and then I'm going to use an app called NetSpot on my tablet here to walk around the yard and get a good sense of the speed and the signal strength that this Wavlink device gives us. Alright, so now I am on my tablet and I'm just going to retest this connection here. So I am on the Wi-Fi. It's basically the same setup as the basement, as I said. I'm just going to run the test again just to verify that I'm getting the types of speeds I was expecting before. Before it was like 425 down, and then it was over 100 up. So let's just see. Yep, I'm getting 500 now down. And let's see what our upload is going to be. Okay, so this confirmed 516 down and 65 up. So again, that's what I'm expecting. I'm going to get test-to-test variation no matter what, but this gives me a good baseline with me right beside the unit. So let's walk around and just get a idea of how good of a coverage this single device gives me. All right, so this is my NetSpot app, and I'm going to open up this Wavlink. I'm going to resume my scanning. This is a neat tool that allows me to pick where I'm at and test my speed. So right now I'm on the playset that you can't quite see, but I'm going to go ahead and mark where that's at and do a scan. And this is going to show me my signal strength here at this location. All right, so just for fun, I'm back here by this back barn. I'm going to go ahead and do a speed test back here just to see what kind of speed I get. This is pretty much the back of my yard. Okay, so I got a bunch of my yard walking around trying to get these data points. It's 29 data points, and we can go to the next and we can look at the heat map. So let's have it generate this heat map for us. Now I need to maybe check my settings and make sure that it's only detecting certain ones. Okay, so this is now the Wavelength, just the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. So that one's not going to travel as well as 2.4. You can see in the front of the house, it has very poor signal. I would call anything red not usable. But anything that is orange or better, like here right in front of the house, minus 63, that's a workable signal that you can get speed with. And even back here, when I was at the back barn, that was minus 67. I was still getting that 300 down speed in that orange zone. So this entire backyard is basically usable on 5G. Now, if I include the 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, it gets a little bit better. But again, you know, it's about the same where the front of the house is. I'm not surprised I have an entire house blocking it, as well as the elevation where the wavelength unit is actually lower ground level than the front of the house. So it's down low and behind the house. So everything in front of it kind of gets blocked, which is as expected. But this is acres of coverage for this unit, so which is really impressive. All right, so I can start scanning again. Now this I'm going to rescan in the same places as I did before. All right, so here we are, right where this little marker shows I'm at the back by my back barn. And so I'm going to go in here and do a speed test. And this time I'm connected to the non-antenna version. So let's see what it gets. Okay, there we go. That is the non-antenna one. That is the speed results back here by my back garage.
All right, so here we are, and we are all done with this map. Now, this map here is about 4 acres. I drew basically the same shape on Google Earth, and just to get you an idea of how big of a space this is, about 4 acres. And, you know, I set this color scaling up on my own. And, you know, the red in general, I would say, is not usable space. But there's a couple caveats. One is this app, this NetSpot app, is really great for A to B comparison, but it's not perfect, especially with the number of data points that I did. Let me see if I can show my data points here. Okay, yeah, so here are my data points on the map. You can see they're not complete, meaning, you know, you ideally would do a lot more than this. That would help it fill out this gradient and be a little bit more accurate. But I did not do that, so just take it with a grain of salt that this is probably not a perfect map. But what I will say is, walking around my house and around these different buildings, it's probably safe to say a single one of these units would cover something like 2 acres, give or take. You know, maybe a little bit more if it's all clear. I do have a lot of obstructions, either buildings or trees, or my entire house for the matter, for the front side, and that obviously blocks signal. So if it was a big open field, it could probably do, you know, 3 or more acres. But For otherwise, I would say a few acres is something that is feasible with this device. As you saw, when I went from right here is where I started with the castle playset, where it's bright green, but then I stood way back here at this back building, which was almost 300 feet away, I think. And I was still getting 300 megabits per second speed back here in this minus 64 zone. So that just gives you an idea of how far and how well it actually covers.
All right, so now I'm back logged in. I'm in the one with the antenna. I'm gonna call that my main one. But then if I go to mode selection, I've been running these in AP mode, which is kind of the default. That means they're a standalone access point. If I want to make them into a like repeater type thing, where I have, instead of LAN backhaul where I'm connected directly, if I want to just connect to my home Wi-Fi and make it repeat it, I can go here to the repeater mode. And then when I hit next, what it's going to do is going to search for 31 seconds for some reason all the different Wi-Fi signals that are out there that you could connect to. And then once it finds the one that you want, you can go in there and select it and say connect. And what it's going to do is it's going to use that Wi-Fi signal as the internet, and then it's going to repeat its own Wi-Fi signal for you to connect to. So let's see how that works. All right, so here we see my full list. I have lots of Wi-Fi available. I have 9 different access points in my current Zima land, and there's both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz ones. And then you can see I have some other devices as well sending out Wi-Fi signal. And so I can pick any of these I want to connect to, and then I click next. It's going to ask me for my password. It's going to ask for the connection type. You can do bridge or WISP, so wireless ISP. And then you can do different names. So like what you can see here, this is not a mesh. So don't be confused between mesh and extend. Extend means it's going to create a new Wi-Fi network, and you will have to tell your devices to connect to either this Wavlink extended one or your original home one. And so there's pros and cons to that. But this repeater mode is that setup. So you can set your new names and passwords. They cannot be the same as your home one. You want them to be different than your main home one. So that's why on here you can see they added an EXT 2.4 and an EXT 5G. So that's what you would do for that, and that should work decently well. It will typically hurt your speed because you're using your same Wi-Fi signal to both download and upload. So that's just something to know when you do that kind of mode selection. So the next mode selection you can pick is the router mesh or the mesh extender. So if I want this to be my main source for starting my mesh, I think they allow up to 6 mesh devices for Wavelength. So that's how many you can have. So I can set this one as my mesh router, and then it's going to automatically pick the WAN, and the WAN is the internet connection that it has Ethernet for. I can click save, and now this says that if I'm connected to the router via Wi-Fi, search for the new setup wireless name and use the new password to connect. So I'm going to have to reconnect to this because now I made it into a mesh setup. Okay, so now in the advanced settings, now that I'm in a mesh router mode, you can see I have a couple more settings in here as far as the mesh settings. Let's see what other type of network settings. Same network setting as before. I guess you can do custom MTU in DNS. We can do this mesh network. This is where I can add more of them. You can see I just have my main one right now, but I can click add a mesh network, and it will find the new one. The new one has to be plugged in, factory reset, and so I'll do that in a minute here. You can see there's some static IP information. You can force a static IP. So this is giving you some more control here in this mesh setup, mesh router setup instead of the AP mode. So here I'm just doing a network diagnostics, just running it for fun, just to see what it does. It's looking at the WAN connection, making sure that I have internet connection and the Wi-Fi signal connection. All right, so now we have the node set up here with just power to it, no connection, and it's factory reset. So I actually went to the settings and hit factory reset. You can see over there is the castle back behind the house. So I do have a clear line of sight, but the front of the house had poor signal, so this hopefully will kind of go around the house and then beam it back in front of it. So what I do now is I have to set this up so it finds this this node. Okay, so in the main one, to the castle one, I've gone into the advanced settings. I go to the mesh network settings, and then I'm going to click the add button and click next. Now it's asking, make sure I either press the, you can press the pairing button on this one and then that one, which would be probably better if you're close to it. Or if this one's in the factory reset state and that little LED light is blinking blue, then that means that it should be able to pick it up. All right, so maybe it wasn't very clear to me if I had to go through this initial setup, but I'm doing this initial setup back on this one after a factory reset. I hit that switch mode, told it to be an extender, and then I had to set up the country and the time zone and a new admin password for it. All right, so now I went back into the main one because this light is flashing slowly this time blue instead of a little bit quicker. So hopefully now it's in the ready. There it goes. So now find it and click add. Okay, so now it will connect. Takes about 2 minutes. So now I have this one hooked up as a mesh, so it's getting all the Wi-Fi signal from the castle one, but now it's going to be rebroadcasting that through this area here. All right, so we can see we have medium signal strength, which seems reasonable. We can look at the mesh topology, just see the layout, and you can see that it shows a signal strength of minus 66 dB, which should be reasonable.
So hopefully this video was helpful. Obviously, you can add more meshes like I quickly showed so that you could get this to fill out and be better performing in a wider area. But this is really just an indicator of what one single device does. So if you have any questions, please do consider putting them down in the comments below. I do try to get to those and respond to them if I can. And then as always, please stay tuned for more videos I release every week.